What's going on, guys? So I'm doing another video for you real quick because we're going to do elevated users. That's what we're going to talk about. And, elevated users, which is devpowers, is not the same thing as admin users or god mode or anything like that. And just to clarify, let me talk about that for a second. So when you think god mode in SCUM, you don't have the same thing in other games. Like when you do god mode in other games, you get like infinite power, you got infinite stamina, infinite ammo, whatever. You have all this stuff that basically you're godlike and you can't die. That's not what god mode is in SCUM. In SCUM, as an admin user, if you're given the god mode powers, you are able to just craft things and build bases without having any of the necessary materials to build it. So that's all it is. I was talking about this earlier, and I'm just going to show this to you really quickly because there's three different settings. There's the admin users, and then there's the server settings admin users, and then there's also the god mode. And like I said, these do something a little different than regular, so I just want to explain this for a second. You already know what admin does. You know, you can teleport around, you can look at how many vehicles are in your map area, you can spawn things, spawn items. There's so many things you can do with admins, and that really is more of a powerful thing. The god mode, again, is for just crafting, and then the other one that they have is the server settings admin user, which I already covered this in another video, but this basically allows you to have access to the server settings. So those are different. The one we're going to talk about today is the elevated users, and what that does is give you dev powers. What is the dev powers? Well, there are things like, for example, this document that I will link in the description, and I got this from the SCUM Discord. Somebody posted this in there, and if I scroll down to the bottom of it, we'll look at this document in a moment. But if we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see some of the dev commands are things along the lines like add bleed injury, add body effect, add burn injury, add radiation presence. I think this is all for testing. I don't see myself doing this to my character. And by the way, the dev commands, all this elevated stuff that you can do, you can only do to your character. You can't do this for someone else. And the reason I say that is because one of the first questions that comes up is when they see this setting here that's called set attributes. I'll make that a little bit bigger. That means that you can actually change your attributes. So if you started off with 4, 2, 2, 4, and you're like, oh, my constitution is 2. I don't like that. I want to change it. You can't do that unless you create a new character. But if you had elevated user powers, like dev powers, you can actually reset your attributes to whatever you want. The max for strength is going to be 8, and the max for all the others is 5. So you can put something along the lines of 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5, and then I think that's 4 5s, right? And that will give you 5 across the board. And you can change it at will if you feel like testing. Maybe you want to put it all 1s. Maybe you want to set them up at 8 and everything else at 1. Whatever it is that you want, I don't know. But the question came up recently in one of the forums that said, can I change another character's attributes for them? No, you can't. The only way that somebody else's attributes can be changed if they also have elevated user powers and they can actually do it to themselves. That's it. So a couple of the other things that pop up here is like set stamina, which is really just setting it to 100%, but you still lose it. But there's another one, if I can go down here, it says set infinite stamina, which means that you will never run out of stamina. You can also set immortality, which basically means that you'll never die. Yeah. Or infinite ammo. Here's the other one. Now, those are really more godlike powers, but this has nothing to do with god mode. Remember, god mode is just for building. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because this document, if I scroll all the way up, talks about how we go ahead and give this to someone. And it's not like the old ways of doing admin user and server setting admin users. It's not an INI file. It's actually in the database. They want you to go to a data table in the SCUM database and insert a Steam ID, or in this case, it's called a user ID, into this elevated users table. That's not something that everybody knows how to do. And even though this document that I am not 100% sure if the SCUM people actually put this up or someone in the SCUM community made this, as I said, I got it from a forum, from the actual Discord, but I'm going to include this, in the description. I'm going to include this link so that you have it. but I'm going to point out some things that are wrong on it, and I'll correct them for you so that way you can actually get through this. So let's go through it. So basically here at the top, it says elevated users, adding Steam IDs to the elevated user table in SCUM database, DB, grant specific developer dev commands to designated users. Okay. So the ones that you set up will also receive access to admin commands equivalent to those defined in the adminusers.ini. So in other words, when you set them up as an elevated user, they will also have admin powers. They won't have God mode powers, but they'll have admin powers. This does not grant them admin connection rights via whitelist. So this has nothing to do with whitelisting, where basically that means if you are on the whitelist INI, that means that no matter, even if your server is full and no slots are available, it will kick someone off in order for you to get in. That's what the whitelisting thing is about. But that's not important. That's not what we're here about. So moving on. So preparing the server, basically, you're going to run your server. That way it generates everything that you need. So if you have, this is, by the way, let me stop and go back for a second. You should know this because it's going to be in the description, but this is meant for local servers or for your own server that you're hosting somewhere. Okay. This is not single player. This is not a multiplayer server that you don't have any access to. This is one that you're either managing by hosting it somewhere or that you're hosting it yourself because it's a local server. That's very important that you understand this because you need to have access to the database. And so once you run your server for the first time, it's going to generate the database files that you need. I should also point out that if you're hosting somewhere like in PingPerfect or in gghost or any other one that you have, there is likely the chance that you won't be able to access the database files like on your own or the way that they're telling you to do it here. More than likely, like for example, in gghost, they have right in your configurations, there's a line that says give dev powers. And if you click on that, you put your Steam ID there, you hit execute, and that's it. It's ready to go. So it's a really easy concept. And I think most of the server providers or hosting departments actually have that. That's as much as I can tell you because I only do it with gghost. And I don't really want to put that up here because it has some information from the person that's actually hosting it for us. So I don't want to give that information out. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. But we're going to talk about it from a local server standpoint. So once you run your server, it's going to generate the database files that you need. So you can go ahead and once you do that, you can shut off your server. I've already done that, so I'm not going to run my server. And then you have to install. This is really important. You have to install SQLite. This is the first problem with this document. And please pay attention because you're probably like, all right, I'll just go there. No, don't go there. Because if you go to this site, it's going to tell you to download the browser and tool of your choice for SQLite. It does not exist at this website. And I'm going to tell you where to get it. But let me just show you. So if I go to that site, I'll put this off to the side here for a second. We don't need this document anymore. And I'm going to bring it up. This is the site right here that they send you to. There is nothing on here that says that it's the tools or the browser. So when you bring this up, you're going to be kind of confused, like what am I downloading? And you're not going to be sure what you're supposed to download. And the only thing here that says tools for Windows, because we're looking for Windows, is this command line tools right here. So immediately you think, okay, that's the one I need. If you were to download this and you run it, it's just going to give you a command line. I mean, I can do it, but I don't really feel like downloading and installing that. I've already done that before. And if you see it, it's going to be all command line. What is a command line? Well, the command line looks something along this lines. It's basically this. And you would type in. It doesn't give you a browser, so you're not going to be able to do what they're telling you to do in this document. So this is wrong. So the first thing about this document that I'm showing you is that the download SQLite from this official website is absolutely wrong because they're telling you that you need something like this that looks very similar to this. It's a browser. So I'm going to show you where you're going to find that. So instead of, I'm going back here, so I want to stay there. Instead of going to that site, where you're going to go to is, I'm going to put this in the description as well, is SQLite Studio. SQLitestudio.pl. That's where you're going to go. And when you get there, you're going to download this file. I'm just going to click download right there. It should download it really quickly, and there it goes. And then you're going to just install it. And that's what I'll do right now for you so you can see it. And I actually uninstalled it on my machine so that you could see it. I'm going to minimize this. I have SCUM running in the background, by the way. And here it is. Welcome. We're going to install. This is the little wizard. You're going to accept the agreement. You're going to move forward. Associate SQLite file extensions with SQLite Studio. I'm going to say yes. And then it's going to ask you where you want to install it. Now, for my purposes, I'm going to put it in my X drive. But you can put it wherever you want. And basically where it's putting it, it's going to put it under X Programs, Files, SQLite Studio. And that's fine. That's kind of where I'm going to keep mine. So I'm going to hit next. I'm going to hit next again. And now it's creating it. It doesn't take very long. It's done. I can go ahead and launch it. Now, I'm not going to launch it from here because I want to launch it from the basically Windows startup key. So once I have it running, I can simply go to my Windows key. I can write SQL and it comes up SQLite Studio. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Hopefully this is pointing to the right one because I used to have one before. And there it is. Okay. The good thing is that it's already connected, but I am going to remove that so that I can disconnect it, remove the database. Yeah, I'm going to remove this database from here, basically disconnect from it and remove it. Okay. And I'm going to remove this one as well. That way you have a nice clean screen and you're like, yeah, now I know what you're doing. Yeah, so you'll understand. I'm going to close these windows. I'm going to close that. All right, so it's going to look something like this when you open it up. And I'm sorry that the text is so small, but that's my resolution, and I'm not really going to change this just for the video. So when you're looking at the SQLite Studio, it's asking you in this document to connect to your SCUM database. Now, it's just, this is part number 2 that's wrong with this document. It's telling you to go here, and you're thinking SCUM. Oh, the SCUM game. No, it's not the SCUM game. You have to go to the SCUM Server file. There's 2 different ones, and if you don't know where your SCUM Server is, when you go to your Steam and you go to SCUM Server, you can right-click on it and go to Manage and then Browse Local Files. When you browse local files and you click up here, you're able to see where yours is. Mine happens to be in my X drive, and the path is something along the lines of Program Files, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, SCUM Server. Now, once I do that, then it's telling me, according to the document, and I'll bring that document over. We're going to be going back and forth on this. The document there says that I want to go to SCUM, saved files. That's where my database is. So SCUM, saved files. And there it is. There's my SCUM database. That's what I want. I need to be able to access that. Now, don't double click on this and be like, oh, let me just open it. No, don't do that. That's not what we do. So we're going to go ahead and connect to that. I'll bring this over to the side again. We'll bring up the window that we need, which is this one here. And I need to connect to that database. So I'm back in the SQLite Studio. I'm going to go database. I'm going to add a database. And then I'm going to look for that one where it says select an existing database file or create a new one. Well, I want to select one because I already have one. That's the SCUMDB. I'm going to hit this little folder here. And I'm going to basically go wherever this is. Now, I've already looked at this before. So here it is here. It's in the X drive, like I said, this exact path that I gave you a second ago. I'm going to click on the file, which is this one here. That's the SCUMDB file. And I'm going to hit select. There it is. Then I'm going to click OK. And now it's connected. Well, it's not connected. It's added. So now we have to do the next step. The next step is to connect it. I can do it in one of 2 ways. I can either left click and then right click on it, or do right click immediately. It doesn't matter. And then you can do connect to database, or this little icon right here, after you select it, is the same thing, connect to database. So you do that. Now it's connected. So let me stop for a second before I continue, because this is very important that you understand this. If you're not familiar with working with databases or familiar with working with SQL, I would suggest that you not do this, or do this very carefully. And the reason I say that is because you're going to be very tempted to start looking at all of these different database tables, because this is the entire SCUM database that runs your game. That means that all the information for everything that's in the game is lying in these data tables. And so you're going to be like, oh, I want to see how they store this, or where's all this information, and blah, blah, blah. And you're going to get curious, and you're going to start clicking on things. And it's okay if you start clicking on them to look. It's when you start changing things, and then it doesn't work anymore. And then your SCUM game blows up, and it doesn't work. And then you're sending me comments saying, I don't know what I did, but now my SCUM game's not working after I did the SCUM database thing. Okay, that's not my fault. So I'm letting you know now, because as I was pointing out earlier, I was talking about this. They should never have said it this way. They should never have said, in order for you to get elevated powers, go to the SCUM database. They should have done something along this line instead, which is using the parameters in the adminusers.ini and giving you god mode, server settings, and elevated users all in one place. But they didn't. So I'm warning you, but I'm not liable for whatever you change on here. Just do what they tell you to do for your elevated user and then move on. You know what I mean? That's it. If you go in here, you go in here at your own discretion to look at whatever it is that you want. Why would I say that? Because I've already done that, but I've worked with databases for over 25 years. That's what I used to program in. So it's a little different. But anyways, let's go look at the file that it needs. So according to this, now that we have this opened up, if I go back, it's going to tell me what I need to do. So I need to edit the database. I'm looking at it right here. I'm just trying to move this so you can read it with me. And so here it says, edit the database. Download the SCUMDB file to your local machine. I don't need to do that because it's already here. I don't know why they're saying to download it, because it's already here. It's a local server. And then we're going to open it up like we did. And it's telling you to click execute SQL to run the queries. We don't need to do that. So I'm going to show you how we do this. But the reason why they're telling you to do this is because you need to get your Steam ID, and you need to then put in this syntax to insert your Steam ID as the user ID into elevated users data table. I know there's a lot to uncover there, but just stay with me. So we're going to go back here, and I'm going to show you how we do that. So first of all, let's look for the elevated user table. So if I look at this, and it's in alphabetical order, I'm looking for elevated users. I'm going to double click on it, and now this is the table structure. But if I go to the top here, it says structure and it says data. I'm going to click on data, and it already has my ID in there because I've already put that in there. I've already done this. But how do you do it? I'm going to tell you. You're going to go up to the top here where it says, I'm sorry, you're not going to go to the top there. You're going to go to the top here to these little icons where it says Open SQL Editor. When you click on this little icon, it's like it's a page with a little pencil on it. When you click on that, this is where you're going to type in this. I'm going to copy and paste it for you. You're going to type that in there. Now, I like to do mine all on one line because it's just works better that way for me. I mean, you could do it on two lines. It doesn't really matter. There's no space or anything in between. But what that's doing is basically this is what you're putting in there. Remember I told you this earlier? But this number down at the bottom, this is supposed to be your Steam ID. Now, if you don't know your Steam ID, there are two ways of finding it. Number one, you would go to, I think online it's steamidfinder.com, and you can put in your Steam name, like your Steam, whatever it is your Steam name is, and it will give you an ID, and you can use that one. I believe it's the Steam ID 64 DEC, if I'm not mistaken. And so you can do that. Or if you're in the database and you want to try something different, you can write, there's a user table. Let's see, select all, which is asterisk, from users. Is it? Let's see if that's a table. User is a table. And then let's see what it gives me. If I'm going to click this little execute up here, and there it is. So now it gives me my Nordwolf and my NordFox are two different accounts, two different Steam accounts. And these are the IDs or the Steam IDs because I've already logged into this server. So now anybody that's played on that server will come up here. So that you can simply copy that number and put it into the query that we were doing earlier. So now we're going to go back to that one. And I am going to go ahead and grab, let me see which number is on there. So I'm going to go back to elevated users. 004 is the last one. That was Nord. So I'm going to grab Nord Foxes and I'm going to do this for you. So I'm going to do insert. I'm just saying it out loud so you can write it down yourself. Insert into space elevated users, and it's going to be elevated underscore users. That's the actual name of the table. Space, and then in parentheses, I'm writing user underscore ID, close parentheses, and that's the column ID in the actual data table. And after that, you write values, and then you put open parentheses, and now you put the Steam ID in there, and you put single quotes around it, single quotes, not double quotes. Close the parentheses, and that is good to go. So now that I have that, I can execute it. So I make sure that my cursor is on that one line, and there's a little play button above that says execute query, or press F9, and you click on this. Once it runs it, it says at the bottom, query finished. And so now I want to make sure that it's in there. So for me, I like to do select asterisk, which stands for all, from elevated underscore users, and then press enter. Don't press enter. Then press the little execute query, which is the little play button. And now here it's showing me 2. This is where it shows you what the results are. And it has 2 user IDs. It has my Nordwolf one and my Nordfoe one. So both of those are there. Fox, Foe, whatever you want to call it. And so they're there. So I'm done. This is done. This is ready to go. So what happens now? Okay, so I'm done with this database. I can go ahead and close it. I can disconnect, but I don't need to. It's fine. Just close the actual program. I don't need this right now. And I do have the game running, but I don't have the server running. So let's go ahead and run the server. And if you haven't done this yet, I've showed this to you on a different video already. If you go to properties, you'll see that my parameters are my dash log and my dash port is equal to 7,000. Remember that you have that had a +2 in order to connect. So it's 7,000, but it's going to be 7,002 to connect. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. As it launches, you'll see it pop up on the screen in a second after it says yes. And there it goes. So the server is starting. So you'll notice that I'm running the server on the same machine that I'm going to be playing on. So therefore, it's a local server on my local internal IP that I'm connecting to the same machine. So I don't have to know the actual different network machine IP, like, it's some of them are different IP number. I just have to know my home one because of the fact that it's the same machine. So it's going to be 127.0.0.0.1. Did I say that? I think I said that right, or maybe too many zeros. You'll see in a moment when I go to log it in. It's a lot of files that it's still loading up. A lot of dead time here. It's okay. It's all right. It's a Monday. We can do this. Now, I've actually attempted to record this video a couple of different times, and I've kept stopping and starting over because some things were missing or some things were wrong in the document. And that's why I was like, you know what? I need to make sure that I check all this out before I do it again because some things were just wrong. Okay, the server is running. So now that the server is running, we're going to go ahead and go to our game, and we're going to connect to that server. So I'm going to go to multiplayer. Now, I'm not going to try to find it here because it's under Nordwolf. And you'll see that it says Nordwolf local. But remember that if I click on that, it's going to give me the external IP. That's not what I want. So I'm going to go ahead directly here and type in 127, if I can type, .0.0.1, and then colon. And then we're going to do 7,002 because it's 2 more than what you actually set. So once we have that, we're going to go ahead and connect. Just press enter. It's going to ask me, do I want to continue or the new character? I'm going to say continue because we're using the same character. And I'm logging in with my Nordwolf character on this server, which is one of the accounts that I just gave it elevated user access. And I'm going to show you, I'm only going to show you 3 things. Maybe 4. As far as the settings are concerned. It's up to you if you want to look at the rest of the settings and the rest of the commands, and you can do that. So here I am. This has been, if you've been watching my videos, this is kind of the same testing area I keep standing in. So now we want to see, how do we use this? Well, now we don't have to set admin in order to use it. We're already set up as elevated users. So all we have to do is go to T and type in set immortality. Okay, make sure you know how to spell, just like I don't. And then set true, press enter, and now I am immortal. So no matter what I do, I will not die. And the reason I'm doing that, because the second one I want to show you, and by the way, if this does not work, you would get an error and says user unable to do it, or you don't have access to this command. Something along that lines, it just wouldn't work. You'll get a message. So the other one I'm going to do is the super jump. And the reason why I did immortality first, and this is very important that you understand this, because everybody wants a super jump, but they don't realize that super jump does not come with super land. Let me say that again. Super jump does not come with super land. In other words, when you land, you're going to die. Okay, that's just the way it's set up. So you have to give yourself immortality first. And now I can do set super jump true. All right, so super jump is ready. And the way that it works is spacebar. That's your jump. So the minute you hit spacebar, you're going to jump straight up into the air. And you're going to go straight back down. Now, the only way to go across is if you do like the parachute, and then you're gliding like you would do in the parachute. And you're going to go a little bit forward. Not a lot, but a little bit. And I'm going to land. Now, in my case, I did not go forward at all, but that's usually the way it works, is if you glide. So this is not change if you run forward at top speed and do jump. It doesn't really send you forward as much. It's still straight up, but you'll notice you have a little bit more momentum. And you're going to glide. So now it's like I went a little bit further. There you go. Now I landed fine. All right. Now the other thing is I'll do this next one so I can get over there. Set infinite stamina. There it is. And then true. Okay. Now it's working. So what that means is that I can run at full speed and my stamina will never run out. Perfect. Now I don't want to press jump because I'm going to jump back in the air. So I want to make sure I turn that off. So I'm going to say set super jump false. So now I can jump again and be fine. And it doesn't use up any stamina because I'm still on stamina. Now, the last one I want you to see is, because like I said, there's other ones you can set up here, but the last one that people are going to want to use from the beginning is set infinite ammo. And I'm going to set that to true. So when you do this, you have you're never going to run out of ammo. Now, what I have not tested, I'm just to let you know, is you're unable to gain experience. I really believe that that is true. I haven't been able to fully test it, but the little testing that I did on it was when I was spawning a couple of puppets in to see, and I was shooting them down, and I didn't gain any skill level from doing it. So that's something I'll probably have to test a little bit more, but that's it. You got elevator user, dev powers. When you're done with something, when you log off and log back in, those powers are gone, so you have to start all over again. But if you wanted to turn something off, you can just do the false. So set infinite ammo to false. And so now it's set to false. And guess what? My gun is empty because I used the ammo that was there. So you make sure you reload your gun if you have any. I don't have any ammo, so I can't do that. And that's how it works. So anyways, I hope that was helpful to you. So If you have any other questions, or if I can show you something else, make sure you drop it in the comments, leave me a like, and subscribe. That'd be great. Keep one thing in mind. There are certain things that I can't answer because you're going to ask me things like that I've seen before. Like, I'm unable to connect. My friend can't connect. My game isn't launching. You know, things like that I can't help you with because I'm not at your house. I can't go there as an IT person. Maybe I can try to help you, but I would direct you more towards the SCUM Discord because they're the people that made the game and they're the ones that could probably help you with the technical part of it. I just try to help you with the information that I find out. That's kind of confusing because even when we do get instructions, the instructions are either one, wrong, or two, we have no idea what we're supposed to do with it. I'll keep doing my videos, trying to explain whatever it is that I come across that I'm just kind of like, yeah, this needs a little bit more explanation. But that's all I can do. So I'll try to answer as many questions as I can as they come in the comments, but sometimes I'm going to say to you, I'm sorry, I don't know that answer because I don't know everything. But I appreciate you guys watching the videos, checking these out, and continuing to be part of the Wolfpack. So until next time, take care of yourselves. I'm out. Peace.